guys tonight. We just want you guys to go ahead and just in the comment section, kind of type out where you're watching from, who you might be with, and we're just excited to get started tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for hanging in there with us. We had some technical difficulties, but we have some really amazing people who are here with us today who got us up and running. So we're so excited that you can see us.
Yeah.
And we wish that we could see every single one of your faces. But like Pastor Kenneth said, go ahead and comment where you're watching from, who you're watching with. We want to know all those things. And I just want to tell you a little bit about how tonight is going to go. So we have been hyping it up, right? You can win a large pizza tonight. And so we're going to tell you how before we keep going so that you know. So if you have subscribed to this channel, make sure that your subscription capabilities are public so that we can go through and see who all has subscribed. So we can give you credit for that each time you, since you subscribed. And if you have joined our ReIgnite Remind, you get extra points for that as well. If you have not, go ahead and text ReIgnite-YO to 81010. And then the other ways that you can earn points are by commenting. Interact with us, encourage people around you to interact. Helpful comments, if we ask a question and you respond to it, we will give you a point for that. And Megan and Izzy are actually the ones that are tallying all that up. And so at the end of the night, we will randomly pick someone based on all of those things to get a large pizza delivered to their house. The other thing that we are going to be doing is we have created a one-of-a-kind, limited edition ReIgnite Youth t-shirt. Yeah, and so if you are here, and we're like basically taking attendance online, if you are here on all of the Wednesdays that we do ReIgnite Youth Live, at the end of this time, you are going to get a limited edition for this season ReIgnite Youth Group t-shirt, and they are going to be so cute and so manly or whatever you boys like. But we are going to get going tonight. We have a lot of really fun stuff, and I just have a few announcements. As you probably have heard by now, our bowling night on Friday night has been postponed. And we want to be really clear that it is postponed. It is not canceled, because once this is over, and it will be, and we will get through it.
Absolutely.
We are going to celebrate.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. The other thing that we will be rescheduling will be pie auction. So we will make sure we get you all of those details as soon as we have them. And now
we are going to play a game.
Yes.
All right, and we are going to play two games. The first game is actually going to be for Pastor Andrea and myself, and then the next game we're actually going to have an interactive game with you guys. And so for this first game, I kind of wanted to see how synced up Pastor Andrea and I really are. And so we're going to play a game where we finish each other's sandwiches in a way. So here's how it works. On 3, we're going to count down from 3. There's going to be a category on the screen, and we're going to yell the first word that comes to mind and try to make it sync up. So it's got to be the same word for us to be able to win a point. All right? So that's how it works, and I'm going to give this a spin, and we're going to get to the first category. The best video game system. All right. All right, we're gonna re-roll. Yeah. But don't say it until we count down from 3. All right. Let's go. You got sync on that one. I don't know if you know much more other than the Xbox.
It's not.
All right, here we go. All right, a male superhero. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Flash. See, I was gonna go with Batman, but I changed it.
0 for 0.
All right. Next one. The best type of pen. I think we can get this one. Are you ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1. Dog. Okay. Yep. It's a type of dog.
Well,
I guess we get
type
half
of
a
dog.
point. Maybe half a point. I don't know. All right. Let's try more. Here we go. The best baseball team. We surely can get this one. Surely.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Just the name of the team, not the
Yeah,
cities.
just the
Okay?
name.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Astros. There
Okay.
you go.
I was like,
All
wait,
right.
where am I going?
So you have 1.5 points so far.
Is that okay to say now, Astros? Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if we can get 2.5 points, all right? We have 1.5 right now. Let's see if we can get 2.5. Last one. Something you put on a taco. I don't know that we'll get this one, but we'll try it. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Cilantro. Okay. Yep. Well, we got 1.5
We'll try next
points.
time.
That's okay.
We
All
don't
right.
get candy.
So,
But in these next games that we are going to play, we can't give you candy like we usually do. So what we are going to do is if you win one of these next games, we are going to send you a Redbox code to be used with your parents' permission on a movie rental that you would like to watch right there from your home. So yeah.
all right. So this next one, you need to be ready to comment the answer in, because we're going to be watching the comments on Pastor Andrea's computer, and the first one to pop up, we are going to award you that point. So, on this next one, we're going to try this. It may or may not work. This is how this works. It's called Destination Unknown. You're going to see some pixelated image on the screen, and it's going to be really blurry at first, and it's going to become clearer and clearer, slowly and slowly. And so gradually you'll be able to understand what the picture is, and it's going to be of a famous landmark from around the world. So if you guess the landmark correctly, you'll get a point. All right. So here we go. Let's try that one more time. Here we go. All right. So it's really blurry. It's going to start to get clearer. We're looking for that first guess. Not Hawaii.
Not Hawaii. Not Minecraft.
Alright, I'm going to keep it right there for just a minute.
Pyramids.
Not the pyramids.
Not
That's a good one.
pyramids. Statue of Liberty. Not the Statue of Liberty. Oh.
Hey, we got one. The Colosseum.
Who is Total Gaming?
Yeah, we need to know who you are so you can award you that point.
It's Matt Cook. Matt,
Hey!
congratulations.
You got our first point.
Yeah, we're gonna be keeping score, and whoever wins this one is gonna get the red box.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Next one. All right. It's becoming clearer. Let's see if you can guess it. What are some of the answers that we got so far? Yeah, we'll take that, Julia. Yeah, it's the Golden Gate Bridge.
Good job, Julia.
Hey.
All right, one for Matt Cook, one
All right,
for Julia.
here's the next one. This one's a little more difficult. Ireland? Not quite.
It's not Ireland, Cody.
It's not Ireland. I'll leave it right there. Close.
Close, Brianna.
Yeah, Brianna Davis got it. The Great Wall of China.
Good
There
job,
it is.
Bree. So
All right.
one for Matt, one for Julia, and one for
We're
Brianna.
all tied up. All right, here we go. Next one. This one's a little tricky. All right, I'll leave it right there. Where is that? Well, Free, that's the name of the game, my friend.
What's the name of the game?
All right. No, it's not France, not Seattle, not NYC. London! Hey, Megan Williams! That is Big Ben in London. Good job. That's probably one of the harder ones on
That
here.
is a hard one.
All right, here's the next one.
All right.
Pastor Andreas got it. Let's see if he can get it. Chicago? No. Moscow? No.
Moscow.
Keep guessing. Mount Rushmore! Hey, who's Rip LOL?
Nick, good job.
Good job, Nick.
Okay, so Matt Cook, Julia, Brianna, Megan, and Nick have one.
Man, all
We have
right.
one more.
We need you guys in the next three. We got three more. We need you guys
Three more.
to break this tie. All right. So here we go. We can keep it right there for a minute. Hey, Julia got it. It is
Julia,
the
good
pyramids.
job. All right, Julia's got 2 points
All right,
now.
Julia takes the lead. Here we go with the next one. We got one more after this.
Julia responds so quickly. I'm impressed.
All right. Still waiting on that right answer. Keep guessing. Yeah, hey! Matt Cook again, Taj Mahal. That is right, my friend.
Oh snap! Julia and Matt are
All
tied
right.
up.
All right, tied up. All right, so for this next one, before I start it, I need this to only be for Julia or Matt Cook. So if your name is not Julia and your name is not Matt Cook, don't answer because we need to get a tiebreaker for these two to give out this awesome prize, okay? All right, so the first one of you two to answer will win the mystery prize. Here we go. It's a real prize, I promise. Oh, the suspense is killing me. This one's kind of tricky, so I might leave it right there for a second. Just for suspense.
What is that? TV static. Just kidding.
It's not TV
It's a
stuff.
landmark.
Alright, we'll go to the next less blurred. Alright, Julia or Matt, give us your best guess. Come on.
There's cheering going on in the comments.
I love it. I love the encouragement. Cheer them on.
I can hear Annie.
Come on, Julia. You can do it. Come on, Matt Cook. Think hard.
Julia doesn't know.
No.
Not a rocket.
It's a city. I need a name of a city.
Julia's gonna figure this out.
Name of a city. Julia, you might be close. Name of a city. Yeah, Julia, you got it. This is Times Square. It's
Good job.
NYC. All right, Julia, you won the prize, which is. Pastor Andrea, you want to reveal it?
Yes, it is a Red Box movie, which we will be texting to you the code after tonight, and you can use it for any movie with your parents' permission.
Yeah, good job, Julia.
All right. Okay, now we have another game we're gonna play.
Another game.
Oh wait, no, we don't.
I don't think we have another game, but we do want to just take this moment. We kind of taking it to more of a serious note. We want to just kind of take this moment and obviously we're in the church. We weren't able to be up in our youth space because of technology, but that's okay. So we're in the church, and but we wanted to just say this. We are in the foyer of the building. We are in a room within 4 walls that make a structure, and this is just a room within a building. We are the church, and in this moment, while it's not how we normally meet, we can still meet, and the presence of God is still with us in this place. And so tonight, as we dig into this devotional thought, we won't be very long, but just kind of lean in, focus, pay attention, because God can speak. Even while we're doing this through YouTube Live, God can still use this and speak into our lives where we are right now. So just lean into this time, and we just hope that that this just becomes a blessing for all of us. And so tonight, I want to ask a question, and I need some interaction in the comments as we get started. And so I need to ask if any of you have ever received an embarrassing injury. Have you ever had an embarrassing injury? If you have, and you have a funny story, start typing it out in the comments. And while you do that, I'm going to share with you guys one of the most embarrassing days of injuries of my entire life. It was crazy. So, my family loves to get together, and so we loved to get together during the 4th of July when I was in high school, and we would get together with our church, and it would be at our house. And so a lot went on in getting ready for that party in the evening. And so one 4th of July when I was in high school, I woke up super early to help my dad because he was smoking a brisket. And so he had to go to work, and so I had to finish watching the grill and making sure that everything was good. And so I went out and I opened the smoker to check on it, and as I was getting done checking on it, the door of the grill came crashing down onto my hand. And so all of a sudden, I had not only a burn, but a scrape. And then later on, I went back out and I went to check it again and again, because I didn't learn apparently. It came crashing down and burned it even more and scraped it up even more. And then finally, I was later on setting out tiki torches in our backyard because mosquitoes. And so I was setting them up, and all of a sudden I drive the last one in, and apparently there was a splinter of the tiki torch that was sticking out. And so when I went to drive it in, the splinter went into my thumb. And so there was part of the splinter in my thumb. And so my whole right hand was totally beat up by the time we got to that party that night. And when people were asking, like, what happened to your hand? Because it was all bandaged up and wrapped up, I was like, well, I jammed it in the grill door twice, and then I jammed a splinter through it. And so it was just kind of embarrassing to have to spend the whole night sharing that story over and over and over again. But we want to hear some of your embarrassing injury stories. So Pastor Andrea, would you read some of those?
These are funny, y'all. Okay, I have a good one. Miss Cynthia. Girls, if you are in our middle school girls small group, Miss Cynthia is one of your youth staffers. Where did it go? I just saw it. She fell off her bike in college, and everyone called me Scab for a couple of weeks. Okay, let's see. Cody said, I was walking into my trailer when I was camping and slammed my head on the top of the door and fell back onto the ground. Freed says that his involved a machete and that we don't want to know. And I will take your word for it. Yeah. Brianna said her and some friends thought it would be fun to ride a skateboard on our stomach while holding onto a bike. I ended up falling and holding onto the bike while the side of my torso got burned. It's great. Ooh, those are rough. Y'all, these are hilarious.
Man, I can feel the pain coming through the screen right now. That is, I would not want to have experienced those things. But I have to be honest, I've had more painful moments than just the day of embarrassing injuries on that 4th of July. And honestly, some of those painful moments weren't just because of physical injuries. There have been times when I've experienced some really painful failure and hurt and loss and isolation. And maybe you know what that's like. and I'm sure all of us have those stories. But for me, one of the hardest times growing up was when I was making my last move that I ever made while still at home in high school. I moved a lot when I was a kid. I am a pastor's kid, and so ended up moving a total of 9 times. And that last move was really hard. It came at a time where I was in 10th grade. It was the middle of the year. It wasn't even like at a semester break. It was during the month of February. And so me and my dad moved out before my sister and my mom did. And so it was just us in this new city at this new church. And growing up, church was always a place where no matter how school was going, no matter how friends were, I could always count on church being a place where I felt like I fit in, where I felt like I had a safe place. And in this move, it wasn't the case. We got to the church that Sunday morning, and excuse me, we got to that church on Sunday morning. And I remember looking over at my dad because there was not a teen in the place. There was not anyone that looked my age. And I looked at him and I said, "Where have you brought us?" Because I realized in that moment that church was no longer a place where I could feel safe, where I could fit in. It was no longer that place where I had a place for my own. And so I quickly felt alone and isolated. And so it was a really tough time for me. It was a tough time to go to school and feel like I wasn't fitting in, and then to go to church and realize that there was no youth group. There was nothing for me there. And so I was just so upset, so hurt, feeling isolated and alone in that time.
Yeah, and I think in times like what Pastor Kenneth went through, and as we were thinking about, what this time has kind of been like for us, whether it's something like a move or even something like the coronavirus starting in our communities, there are times where I think we wrestle with a really hard question. And I think that question is that, why would God let something like this happen, right? Why would God let something like this happen? And that's something that we talk about a lot, and it's a really hard question to answer in just a short time, but we wanted to speak some hope into that, because I feel like it's so important to keep our eyes fixed on what we know about God in times where the world around us doesn't make any sense. And so I wanted to share with y'all tonight one of my favorite verses, and I'm going to read it to you. It is out of Romans 8:28, and it says that we know that God works all things together for the good of the ones who love God, for those who are called according to his purpose. And that's just a really short verse. It's such a great chapter. It's such a great book that we'll hopefully get to dig into some more throughout this time. But that phrase, we know that God works all things together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. Guys, in times like this that are crazy and that come with a lot of unknowns and a lot of change, it's so important to remember God's character. And I think this verse tells us a little bit about what is at the very core of who God is. And that is that we are loved by a God who is constantly bringing good out of bad. We are loved by a God who is constantly shining light in the darkest places and bringing healing out of brokenness. And so if we remember that during times like this, our perspective will be different. The way that we handle it will be different. I wanted to share with you guys, I'm a picture person, so I like to see things in my mind. And if you think of a carrot, if you think of an egg, and if you think of coffee grounds, and whenever you boil water really, really hot, and say you put all 3 of those things in a different pot, something super different would happen to each of those things, right? And so I like to picture things like that. A carrot, right, starts out really tough and really, really strong. But as the heat gets turned up, right, as it gets hot around it, as the conditions that it's living in aren't so great anymore, something starts to happen to that carrot. It starts to wilt and it starts to get soft, right? And so they get mushy and they lose their color. And I started to think, do I sometimes react like that, right? Whenever the heat gets turned up in my life, whenever the circumstances that I'm in are not the circumstances that I would want, are there times where I start to become anxious? Or are there times where I start to become insecure, right? Or just like, you just start to feel mushy inside. You just don't feel right. And then there's a hard-boiled egg, right? So I just said it, whenever you turn the heat up real hot on a hard-boiled egg, it becomes really hard. And the longer that you leave it in water, the harder and smellier it gets. And I feel like that is also sometimes me, right? Where sometimes whenever things around me are hard, or whenever I don't know what to do in a certain situation, maybe you shut down. Maybe you put up walls. Maybe you start to build an exterior around yourself to protect yourself from whatever it could be. And then I thought of this third item, coffee grounds. And what's really neat about coffee grounds is when the water gets turned up on coffee grounds, right? When it gets hot, when it's hot, they start to smell really good. And if you are a coffee drinker like myself or like Izzy, you know that one of the best things in the whole entire world happens when coffee grounds are submerged in hot water. And they start to have this wonderful smell and this great aroma, and they do something great for people. And I feel like that's a perfect example of what we would aim for in a time like this, right? When things in my life get hot, when the circumstances aren't what I would want, I keep in mind this idea of coffee. Because the truth is that if we allow God to shape us in these times, if we don't just retreat into our shells, if we don't just allow the circumstances that we're in to overwhelm us and overtake us, then God can use these times to do something really good in our lives.
Yeah, and so, in that time in Fort Smith, going through that hard move, I was like that carrot. I was anxious. I was insecure every time I stepped into the doors of the church or into the doors of school and didn't find that I was fitting in. I was like that egg. I was hardened towards my dad. I was upset. I didn't want to hear it from him. I was like, where have you brought us? But something happened. A kid named Alec at school invited me to come to his youth group. And I still felt like that carrot and that egg, hardened and anxious and insecure when I stepped into the doors of that place. But I instantly felt love. I instantly felt this community. And all of a sudden, what was a situation where I felt so alone and so isolated turned into something where I ended up going to this youth group, getting involved, finding a place where I could once again call my own, call a safe place, find community. And all of a sudden what happened was I was able to go and plug in. But then eventually I began on another night leading another youth gathering at my dad's church and providing a space for students that would later on come and be a part of that church. And so what was a situation that I thought was painful and lonely, Jesus redeemed into a situation that he used to both grow me and used to share what I was learning with others. And so I quickly became aware of the fact that, as I was hard and anxious, that was turning into something different because I was allowing Jesus into my life and he was transforming it into the best coming out of me in that situation.
Yeah, so as we close this up, not a usual length of message, but we just wanted to continue to keep reminding ourselves of what's important in this time. And so maybe you are like Pastor Kenneth, right? And you are going through a really weird change, but maybe right now you're watching what's going on around you and things just like don't make sense, right? Maybe your parents are freaked out and your school is closing and events are being postponed and things that you were really, really excited for are being canceled or moved. And that can be really, really hard. But we wanted to remind ourselves of two things. One, we have each other. In times like this, it's so important that social distancing does not become us disconnecting from each other. That's why these group chats are important. That's why tuning into the service and commenting a bunch of funny things together are fun. But the other thing too is this: when things are crazy, when life around us is changing and things are uncertain, we can remember two things. That God has given us the opportunity to choose how we respond when the heat is turned up in our lives and things are hard and weird. And the other thing that God has given us is his presence. The cool thing about going through storms is that God promises us that we will never have to go through them alone. And that is the best good news that we could ever have. Because when we go through storms, when things are uncertain, or no matter what happens, we have each other and we have God. And so I hope that this season for you won't just be endless hours on Netflix or on TikTok or wherever you're at, but that you will find ways to grow in this time. That you will find ways and find new passions and find different ways to connect with people and to be intentional about how you love others and about how you connect in your relationship with God. It's kind of in our own court now how we respond. And so we're going to pray, and then we are going to do our drawing. Okay?
Yeah.
You wanna pray for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Father God, we thank you for technology, for the fact that even in the midst of chaos and even in the midst of situations that are stressful, we can have such a gift as this, to be able to meet in a way that is just truly incredible. Father, we thank you for our time together. We thank you for your word and for what you have to say into our lives. Father, we pray that you would challenge us. We pray that this wouldn't leave our minds quickly, but that we would continue to remember what has been said, continue to remember what you are trying to do in our life. God, we pray that you would just allow, that you would just help us transform into the very best that we can be in this stressful time, and so that we can share the love of God to the people around us. And it's in your holy and precious name we pray. Amen. All right, so the way this drawing is going to work, we are actually going to do it right when we sign off. We're going to go and we're going to tally up all the points, and we're going to do the drawing, and we'll contact you guys. And
we don't have as many people on the list as we have viewing.
Okay.
But everybody who has commented their name is on the list.
Okay, perfect. And
Okay.
then the subscriptions and remind and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, actually, Izzy has our name.
Do you want the final name?
Yes.
Yeah. Izzy has it, so we're going to announce it right here, right
Woo-hoo!
now.
Clap for
Here we
Izzy.
go.
Virtual
Drum roll.
claps. They rock. And Megan. Woo-hoo!
Wait.
Longest drum roll ever.
We get the paper.
We're passing the name. Do we have the name?
We have the name.
Is it my name?
It is not your name.
Do I get a large pizza?
Congratulations.
I think I should get the large pizza.
All right. And the name of the person is Will Jones.
Hey!
Will Jones, you get a large pizza
That
tonight.
is awesome.
That's
Congratulations,
awesome.
Will.
Will, we're gonna call your parents or you in just a
Yes.
second and find out what your address is.
Yeah.
And what kind of pizza you want. So start thinking.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we are so incredibly thankful that we got a chance to be together, and we are so excited for Sunday morning again. And so we want to encourage you guys to sign on to our live service Sunday morning with your family and engage in that way so that we can just stay connected in this time.
Yeah, all right. And we are going to be releasing lots of different things, different devotionals that you can do with your small groups, and ways that we have decided small groups are still going to meet in a different way, in a virtual way. And so make sure that if you have not joined that Remind, which again is at Remind or ReIgnite Yo at 81010, we'll post it in the comments in just a second. Go ahead and text ReIgnite Yo to 81010 so that you can stay up to date. Follow our Instagram page, hfc.reigniteyouth. And yeah, make sure that you tune in next week at 6:45